Welcome to Dente, Rigamortis. I'm Review Cultist.
I'm Mikey. E stands for evil.
And I'm the Gamer in Yellow.
And we're here to discuss those internet stories, most creepy and most pasta, and be critically silly doing it. Tonight we have The Clown, the Paint, and the Turbine. So, if you guys remember from from an episode or two, probably about 2 or 3 episodes ago, we did The Clown, the Paint, and the Circus, which was a prologue, or a prequel, that was written after this one. So we decided to do it in story chronology versus writing chronology.
Unfortunately.
Yes. Yeah. As we'll get to. This one, as with the other one, this story is by Elliot Cowling on creepypasta.wiki, and let's just dive into the rundown. So the narrator, or narrator, is recounting a terrible experience, sort of in the writing vein of like a Reddit no sleep story. It's like, oh man, this thing happened to me. I gotta share it to you guys, kind of thing. Mm-hmm. When they were younger, they moved with their parents to a new house, which the parents got really cheap because, but it was...
Was it established that it was cheap?
Yeah, I think it was like an affordable house, but they never, like, they never knew why, like the parents kind of like shushed about like why it was so cheap. And the downside was that it was next to a field full of seemingly endless turbines, like wind turbines, as opposed to vent turbines, like the towering ones that like are up in the they're like sky high and they've got the little giant windmills for wind energy kind of thing. Yeah. Anyway, so it was a vibrant, exciting part of their life until this incident happened. You see. There was also a strange figure off in the distance in the field, and Nair's parents told them never to go beyond the garden when playing outside because of that. UK, by the way, because out in the garden and a couple of other things. Also, this is based off, if this is a prequel to the original one, and this is the same wind turbine field, it's in southern UK, as we established in that episode. Mm-hmm. And then similarly, they were told never to go into their parents' room. Nair's parents left them alone at home a fair bit, so one day they decided to go out into the field and to see what the figure was, because they saw it. They went out a ways, though it was very far, calling the figure, but no response. However, as Nair was heading back, mainly out of boredom, they noticed the figure had moved their head and was watching them specifically. This creeped Nair out, and they ran back into their house. The next time Mom went out, Nair was asked if they wanted to go with. Nair declined, wanting to go out into the field and meet the figure that had been watching them. They went out there, and the figure was a clown. And it's the same description that Big Top gets in the prequel story, which is basically red shoes, red coat, big red nose, and a red hat with a white feather.
I don't remember that from the prequel.
I was actually going to leave a comment in my notes on this, and then I went back to the Clown, the Paint, and the Circus, and we do get the same description. I was like, oh, okay. But yeah, I don't remember it either.
I just remember him being a clown.
Yeah, I don't remember, it was like one of those details that I completely, I know the whole gist of that story, but I didn't know what the clown's description was in it while reading this. And then when I went back and said, oh, there is a description of him. It was really odd. I completely wiped my memory of what the clown looked like.
Do you remember, Mikey?
No. Well, I sort of, like all of us, have the issue where we have preconceived notions of clowns.
Yeah, that's true.
So that's what instantly comes to mind, and then we sort of glaze over any additional details.
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie. After we read that story and going into this one, knowing about Big Top, I honestly just thought the clown from No Ketchup, the Slime Beast story, that clown had a stronger imagery, I guess, with me, that stuck with me, or Bozo the clown, or Zebo the clown from Are You Afraid of the Dark. Like that's the clown I kept picturing, even though
Doink the Clown. Doink the Clown from WWF back in the 80s and 90s.
Yes.
He was a wrestler.
Yeah.
He was a clown.
I assume, with the name.
Yeah. He's also, like, possibly, like, a murderer. Like, his character. He was meant to be a creepy clown.
So he was a pre-creepypasta.
Basically, yeah.
Okay, cool. Moving right back onto the story at hand. Alright, so apparently the clown was annoyed by being bothered by Nair. The clown then tells Nair that they should have listened to their parents and to not go into the field because he's been waiting for Nair. Nair runs home and finds it's still empty with the phone smashed, suggesting that somebody, i.e. Big Top or the clown, has broken in already. They run up to their parents' room and open it, discovering that Dad is dead, hanging from hooks and all bloody. There's writing on the wall that says sacrifice. At this point, the clown appears out of the darkness of the doorway with a paintbrush and a paint pot. Nair wakes up with a headache. So, thinking this has all been a dream and like some terrible nightmare thing, they assure us to keep reading because it keeps going. When they go downstairs, they find they are still alone, though after a moment they see someone out in the field and think it's their mom and dad. As they go out into the field, they discover that not only is the figure the clown, again, waving to them, but that their mom and dad are dead, hanging from the turbine blades, splashing blood across them. The turbines, not the kid.
I hate they and them. It's so annoying.
Fuck.
The whole time it sounded like there's plural people doing things.
Yeah. The clown then thanks them for helping them paint. Fin. That's about the gist of the story. So, on to everyone tolerates the grammar acquisitions at this point. Did I do it?
Yeah.
Awesome. I was like, wait, is it tolerate or expect?
It's not the one that's the actual reference material.
It's the one that we've evolved.
Yes.
It is. All right, so grammar acquisition number 1. I can remember all those times I used to play down in the garden with my toys and just think about how great life was. School was a drag, obviously, but the idea that this place was my playground was amazing. I was an only child, so I really had to invent some games to keep me amused when my parents went out. My life was brilliant. Every day it's after school.
I would read the whole story.
Can I continue? Jesus. Every day after school, I would come home, rush outside, then go into my own world for hours. Life was amazing. So the reason why I read that whole paragraph is because as I was reading it, it just felt really repetitive, like padding repetitive. Like, my life is great. School's boring. I play outside. Life is great. Rinse and repeat. Kind of thing. Like, it just felt like life was great like 3 times in this paragraph. So I mean, like, I don't know. I'm
trying to hammer home how everything was fine until a certain moment.
You can do that in fewer words.
Yeah.
But moving on to the next one, which is much shorter. Let's just say that it was irresponsible. And then at this point, this is already like, let's just say had been said like twice. So it was like 2 times too often to me.
Yeah, I had that feeling too, but I didn't feel like writing it down.
Yeah. And I thought it was going to keep coming up. Like, let's just say, like, it's like, okay. But it didn't. So I was glad for that. But yeah, it was like used twice already in this part. Also, I feel the sentence should have ended with of her. Like, because it was like her mom leaving him, or it was the mom leaving them at home. And it was like, let's just say that it was irresponsible of her. Like, just a little addition. I don't know if it's like maybe a nitpick, but like...
I'm fine with it.
When reading it, yeah. All right, moving on to the next one. I pottered out the back garden, and the turbines stared at me, inviting me into the fields where they worked and rested. And I found this out. If you potter around or potter about, you do pleasant but unimportant things without hurrying. British. I learned British terminology and slang today.
I learned slang too.
Mm-hmm.
Pottered out. The effect of being oversaturated with the Harry Potter universe.
Yeah, that's not. Yeah, that was all that showed up until I actually looked up this. Basically, I just googled this sentence, and that's actually what brought me to the proper British slang, not the Harry Potter slang. Yeah.
I don't know about you, but I'm pottered out for sure.
Yeah, we're all pretty pottered out at this point. Moving on to the next one. They were very far away, but my parents knew something that I didn't about the whole thing. Wow. I just way to break that up there. But my parents knew something that I did not about the whole thing. After checking it, if anyone was watching again, I began to walk across the field. What? Why is that middle sentence there?
What?
So in that middle section of the first sentence there, it's like, they were very far away, but my parents knew something that I did not about the whole thing. After checking if anyone was watching, I began to walk across the field. Like, it seems like there's part of this, either part's missing where I'm reading it. I think what they're trying to get across is that they're heading out into the field because they want to learn what the secret is about this figure because they believe their parents know about it, but they aren't telling them about this figure.
I have a note on this too.
Yeah.
Where it kind of gives mixed signals in regards to the noun, which I think is the problem.
Yeah.
Because it talks about the figure. Well, sorry, it talks about the it talks about the figure and then says something about far away, so I assume it's meant to be the figure, but it might be the turbines. Like, if it's the turbines, it would be the turbines were very far away, but my parents knew something that I did not. Or if it was the figure, it was very far away.
Yeah.
But it says they were far away, so I don't know what that is.
Yeah, it's kind of like an it's situation. Like, you're not sure what they is referring to.
Yeah, just, it needs a noun.
Yeah. And again, I feel like it's a little like we're maybe there's something in the paragraph before, but I don't have it written down. But it just feels like that part where the parents knew something about the whole thing that I didn't. I guess it's trying to insinuate that they are going. The reason why they're going out in the field in the first place is because they want to learn something that they think their parents know that they aren't telling them. But it threw me off. I was like, why is that part of the sentence? Why is this relevant to the sentence? He's just going out into the field.
It's the reson he's going out.
I know, but
and the reason was laid out before. There was two questions.
Oh, there was? Okay, I wasn't.
This entire paragraph that's set up about these two questions.
Okay. All right. I don't know. When I first read it, I was like, what? Why is that there? Okay. All right, moving on to the next one then. I looked out the window and realized that it had moved. The figure was now looking at the house. It must have always been like that, I thought. I feel like the past, or like that last part should read, I tried to remain calm by assuring myself it had always been like that. Because otherwise, add brackets or something like that for thought processes. I don't know, it just again, reading this, I was kind of confused by the how why it was read or why it was written like that. I must have always it must have always been like that, I thought. I don't know, there's a better way to write that.
The whole thing is done in thought, though.
It's done in thought, but there are thoughts in the moment, that they are recalling. So there's secondary thought, inner thoughts versus outward thoughts, which is what we're reading. Mm-hmm. If that made any sense whatsoever. I
mean, he sure says at the moment I thought this, right?
Yeah, but I feel like it could have been written better, just because I don't know, it bugged me the way it was written.
My problem with that section is define moved. Well, I looked at the window and realized that it had moved.
Yeah,
move how?
Had it moved closer, or was it just moving its head?
Or did it just turn to face? It doesn't really say.
Yeah, I get you. Oh, and this is another part with this whole thing. I looked behind me. He had gone. I charged back to the house. They weren't home. The sky was so dark. It was 7 p.m. Mom and Dad should be home soon, I thought. I burst into tears and went to the phone. The phone was smashed to pieces. Someone must have been in the house. Oh no, it can't be. Okay, every time I was like pausing there, that was the end of a sentence.
Yep.
So I have 3 things with this. I feel like it should be brought up directly that the parents aren't home and not simply they were home. They weren't home. Because when I read that, I was like, "Who? You? The clown?"
It was said earlier in this day that the parents weren't home. He was home alone again.
It's true, but I was still a little, at this point in the story, in this paragraph, I was like, I know I'm going to get some looks from you guys, but some clarification on this could have been a little bit more succinct. Mm-hmm. Actually say the parents weren't home, or my parents weren't home.
I don't understand your problem. It says mom and dad should be home soon, I thought. They might be home soon, but it doesn't say that they're there.
Yeah, I don't know. It's just,
I don't know your problem.
My problem was that we don't know who wasn't home.
No one was home.
Never mind.
That's the reason it's the whole reason he went out in the field again. Yeah, because no one was home to watch him.
Okay. Moving on to the next thing, I have an issue with that. The story uses a lot of short jot sentences. As I recall, so did the prequel. Even in dialogue, which comes off like the speaker is out of breath or something.
Which kind of works for a chase scene.
It does.
That was my note in the previous one, actually.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's intentional or not.
Though, I feel like it would have been better if they had suggested, they'd said after their dialogue, it's like, I was out of breath, like talking or something like that. Or the clown was out of breath, because I think the clown does a lot of those jot note forms things as well. And the inner thoughts of this kid really should have a signifying marker, like brackets or something. There are a couple of cases in the story where, it's him having a thought in that moment as he's recalling the story. And I feel like a bracket would, help, or brackets are, maybe the italics, but, the italics only does it so subtly. Mm-hmm. Something to help signify that we're having a thought process here, he's not saying this aloud, or it's not part of the overall thought account. Mm-hmm. Writing is so weird. Mm-hmm. But that's my grammar positions. So, Mikey, what do you got? Do you have a they story?
I've thought about it just here. I was like, damn it, should have a they story. But I have an it story.
Ooh. And now, an it story with Mikey. The E stands for evil. Take it away.
It was cheap, and only 5 miles away from my school, or so it said. It was marvelous. It never really bothered me at the start of living in this palace, but then I realized that the whole thing was, well, odd. It was a while ago. It wasn't because of the turbines. It was because of the figure that stood still in the distance all day and all night long. It's part of growing up. It must have always been like that, I thought. It had to be a person. It appeared their lips were painted white. It was 7 p.m. It can't be. It was not having it. It was him. It's not. It was a dream, and it was early morning. It hurt really bad. It made me feel sick to my stomach. It couldn't be.
Wow.
There's so many it's there that it gave context to 3/4 of that.
Yeah.
The only one that was out of context was it was 7 p.m. It couldn't be. He's surprised that it's 7 p.m. Where did the time go?
And again, it is kind of it is kind of a common pitfall for writing. Just to keep using that because
it's it.
Yeah. Using a noun versus just that. Using it. Mm-hmm. So, yeah. Is that all your grammar revisions?
Yep.
Okay.
Let's see what I have left. Back when I was younger, my family purchased a beautiful home in what seemed to be the middle of nowhere. It was cheap. Okay, it did say it's cheap. It was cheap and only 5 miles away from my school. Or so it said. Magical talking houses, eh?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
The house
I
itself
totally
said.
forgot. Yeah, I totally glanced over that. Also, probably the only anchoring point between the two stories, between this and the prequel, that the house is 5 miles from town.
Was the previous one as well?
The field the circus starts in is 5 miles from town.
But yeah, I think that could be changed with it was cheap and only 5 miles away from my school, or so the ad said.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely.
The house doesn't speak.
No.
Unless it does.
You have to go inside, don't you know?
So, this is the start of the second paragraph.
Oh boy.
However, there were 2 questions that started to bug me after a long while. First off, that's a odd way to start a paragraph, I think, personally, with however.
Yeah, but it's better than but.
Yeah.
Because however is definitely the better word.
Yeah, but it gets a D in 7F. You know?
Yeah.
It's still... However's like a connecting kind of word.
Yeah, so it's almost like
previous.
it's connecting from the... make either combine those 2 paragraphs into one.
Yeah, if you want to connect it, then connect it in the same paragraph or separate it. Mm-hmm. Also, the first question... This is all about the questions that are being asked, these 2 questions. The first question is never actually asked, and the second one's asked at the end. On reading the setup, I thought it would be like... However, there were 2 questions that started to bug me after a long while. 1, why wasn't I allowed in their bedroom? Then explain. 2, who was in the field behind our house?
See, I think this is what I was getting confused from my previous thing earlier. Where he was going out into the field, and then suddenly there's that question of it, his parents had forbid him from going, or his parents knew something that he didn't.
Second paragraph.
Yeah, that's the second paragraph. But I think that's why, it's because I either didn't fully understand that while reading that, that was part of it. But yeah, that the way you're fixing it, that could have fixed it easily. Yeah,
it's a whole paragraph that's trying to explain these 2 questions that this kid had, but it's not laid out in a clear manner.
Yeah.
And the second one is asked at the end, where it's who was he or whatever. But they could both be changed to have the explanation and then the question after the explanation as well, for dramatic effect. So, could just maybe add a simple, why wasn't I allowed in, after all the information about the bedroom, and then move on to the
Yeah, because those are
field.
kind of, they're related, as we find out at the very end. But at this point, they should be addressed as 2 separate, queries. Mm-hmm. I agree. This one, the room should be addressed separately from the person who's in the field, because we have no idea there's a connection at this point.
Yeah. Although, it kind of shoves it in your face that these are the 2 weird things in this story.
Yeah.
Nothing else is going to be weird. And then my last one, because everything else has been talked about. I dreamt the entire ordeal. Not moving house, obviously, but the clown in the room and everything to do with that horrid field. So, first of all, I assume that moving house is a dialect thing.
Yeah.
It's not talking about, the house... sprouting legs and moving. It's them moving from house to house.
It's probably short form slang or something that's from the UK.
Yes.
So you're finding the hidden story. We've got a talking house that can move.
Yep. That's true.
It's actually just a giant urban mimic.
Mm-hmm.
Or a die-in-die house kind of style thing, where it's not a house, it's a life form.
I'm down with it.
Yep. Slight tangent. On Twitter the other day, I saw this really awesome concept work of somebody did of somebody with a pet stool mimic, and it's the most adorable dog thing I've ever seen. Okay, it's creepy in that it's a mimic with it's a mimic of a stool or a coffee table kind of thing, but it's got huge horrible teeth and the guy's just the character is just brushing it and scratching it and feeding it and stuff. It's really adorable.
It sounds like it.
Sorry, slight tangent.
That's fine. Okay, that's it for my grammar in yellow.
All right. Well, on to actual thoughts then. I ran back to the house and took a quick glance back at the field. That's when I noticed it. The figure's head had moved. I thought nothing of it at the time, but as I ran inside, I began to come to terms with what I had just noticed. This is an instance where I feel some clarification of distance might have been handy. Because previously, this figure is like super far out there. Mm-hmm. Between the kid and the figure, because like the distance, like wise, like between the kid and the figure, like that, like the distance is pretty far, as far as I know from like the previous statements.
Yeah.
And because of that, I just keep thinking that the figure is still really far away. How the hell did this kid notice something rather subtle, like a head moving to like slightly? It just feels like something that should have been addressed a little bit more. Like how, like, was he that close that he was actually able to notice that the head had moved, or like was there some feature on the character on the person's head that like drew that to them? Like I feel like a little bit of clarification in this instance would have been handy.
Yeah.
Well, you could see the lips move.
Could you?
Because he's got like blue face and then white lips.
Oh, that's true. Yeah, he does. Yeah.
I mean, when you're up there talking to him, not when he's miles away.
Yeah, like he was like pretty far away. Like he was like far enough away that he couldn't even figure out if it was a clown or not at this point. So
at this point, he was described as the figure.
Yeah,
it was just a silhouette.
Yeah, it wasn't actually until the second trip I think that we find out there's actually a clown.
Yeah. So if there's going to be any movement to be seen, it should be like a very like exaggerated head movement, like shoulder to shoulder movement,
Slenderman style from Everyman Hybrid, where it's just like
define the movement more.
Yeah,
like the figure's head moved like from shoulder to shoulder, like exaggerated, like moved a lot.
Yeah, because
moved enough that I can see it.
Exactly, because up to this point, I was thinking that like he was going out there thinking that it was like some kind of scarecrow or statue-like thing that like, and it coincided with an early theory that the kid had, where his mom and parents were told like he should never go out there, or like that. I think like right before this paragraph, he was going out there and like thinking that it was just the figure was actually just something out there to scare him, to keep him away from it, like away from the field. So yeah, at this point, like I think it would have been like if we'd had something noted in there where like he thought it was just a statue or some kind of figure, and he wanted to go see what the statue looked like up close, and then you discover that, it's not actually just a statue; it's actually a person. I think it would have been a lot. And the fact that it moved its head is a lot creepier because at this point he still thinks it's some kind of like still figure. Yeah. On to the next one. The next day, my mum went out again, and she gave me the option to stay home or go with her. Was I going to go with her? No, I was not. I stayed at home and went back to the fields with a feeling of dread in my stomach. I don't know why. This person seemed lonely. I needed to ask them what they were doing. You just answered your question of why you went out there in the field, so you know why. Because you thought the person was lonely. Like, it's not like the last story where it's like, I don't know why I followed Big Top into the circus. It was just some kind of presence or aura. Like that's a thing. This one is like, I don't know why I wanted to go out there.
But here's why.
But here's why. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And then my next one here. This seems like a stupid plot twist, doesn't it? It's not. Please keep reading. You have to find out the truth. It was a dream, and it was early morning. I had dreamt the entire ordeal. God. You know, I was going to bring up that this story, like the other one, like the prequel, had a lot of like dreamlike beats to it. Mm. Even with the double fake out at the end, where like we find out it wasn't a dream, even though you say right now it was a dream. Like, I do wonder.
Well, that's true, and this is written after the fact.
Yeah, so I do wonder if this story, like the other one, like my theory with the other one, is that this was also pulled from a dream that the writer had, and they've decided to incorporate it into a story. Because again, this writer is actually really good at nightmarish dreamscape like vibes. So like to that credit, that is. However, I'm noticing, like he says straight up, it's like it was a dream and it was early morning. I had dreamt the entire ordeal, but then seconds later you read that it wasn't a dream. It's like it's
a little bit of whiplash.
Yeah, like I guess you're trying to like psych. It's like
it's just weird that the writer, being the character that's writing this, like comes out of the story saying, "Hang on, stick with me." It's not supposed to be a stupid plot twist.
Or at the very least, again, like thought process, like a thought dialogue thing. There should be a bracket or something like here to like show that this is a commentary, because we do get that at the beginning. Like we get that little like note. So this little blurb should have actually had like a horizontal line to break up from the rest of the story, and then another horizontal line when it started the story back up again. Mm-hmm. Again, to kind of show that there's suddenly a break in character. Mm-hmm. But yeah, like that was my 2 notes on that. It was like the story does have the same kind of dreamscaping that the prequel had. So which gives me bolsters my theory that this is actually pulled from the writer's dream, or from one of the writer's dreams, and they incorporate it into the story. Which again, kudos, because that's like it's an interesting kind of cerebral like way of reading it. Like it's like because it feels like you're reading a dream, like not reality. In a way. And my next one. I called for my parents. No answer. They must be outside. I went to the back door, opened it, and hobbled outside. I called again. Still no answer. I wandered to the edge of the garden to see if they were in the fields. I saw something in the distance. I think I would have added checking the parents' room to make sure everything was okay and not finding them there. However, it does kind of ruin the big surprise that we get at the very end.
He's also never allowed to go in the parents' room, so why?
Like maybe knock on the door and like to see if they can hear it. Just to kind of also like add a little bit like to kind of bring that whole like thing back. It's like you're not supposed to be like go open that door, so he's just knocking to see if they're in there, and when he hears no answer, he'll go downstairs and stuff.
Yeah.
And then when he actually opens it, oh god, that's the horror reveal. The horror reveal is that that
was in the past.
Yeah, that was in the past. That was in the previous. So yeah, if he opens the door now, and he finds nothing there, it's like, okay, that was a dream. But then he goes outside, and suddenly they're now all up on the windmill. Like that's how they died.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So, and my last actual thought. The very words that had made me suffer for countless years now. Thank you for helping me paint. So, is this Big Top in the field, or Ryan from the prequel changed like into a killer?
It could be either the same character.
It kind of feels like it could be. Reading this, I feel like honestly the 2 stories could simply just be separate stories connected by the field itself and the clown. Like not so much like a prequel sequel kind of thing. Like they're just 2 stories that take place in the same setting. Because I don't really see any other real connection other than the clown and the field of turbines. Like there's no real.
It's just a different murder that the clown did.
Yeah, that's just it. Like I don't really see this why like that the prequel story that we read, how that connects really to this one, other than it just being another instance in the field.
It's how Ryan got created.
If that's actually Ryan though out in the field.
If it is,
I mean, we never actually get a name. Like he never actually introduces himself as Big Top or Ryan.
No.
So I feel like if you're going to connect this like that's Ryan, then you should call it like I'm Ryan the Rioted Clown kind of thing or something like that.
You say that, but if he's possessed by Big Top, he might just say he's Big Top, so you don't know.
And maybe exactly. And then. I could also, and then this also, like, at the end here, like, with the clown in the field and stuff, it could also explain why the house was so cheap, and why the parents were so cagey about telling the kid about why. Like, maybe the gruesome history of the neighboring area is what dropped the price for the housing.
Yeah.
Like, that, like, if the prequel is, in fact, like, the history of this one.
It is.
Yeah, well,
it
doesn't say that, really.
It's a prequel. It's the same field. It's a prequel.
It is the same field, but I don't know, like, I feel like we need to get a little bit more connective tissue between the 2 stories. Like, some, like, reveal that, like, they're, like, maybe when they get back into the house, they find, like, some papers that shows that, like, the reason, like, that shows some old papers of, like, the murders that happened in the field next door. I don't know, it's just...
You said yourself that this is the field from the previous.
Yes, but I wouldn't consider these 2 stories actually like a prequel sequel kind of thing. They're just 2 stories that take place in the same setting.
That's like saying that the the second Friday the 13th, whatever the hell that is. What's it called?
Friday the 13th 2?
Probably.
Chapter 2, I think it is?
Probably. That's like saying that isn't a sequel to the first one. Just because they're killing different people.
Fucking right. Yeah. Yeah, I guess
it is a sequel.
Yeah. I guess in that case, yeah. I just don't really see, yeah, okay, I guess by your logic there, yeah, I do see the prequel sequel like terminology. However, I don't know.
If the clown is Ryan, then that clown as a kid got captured by Big Top and went through all that stuff and then went crazy.
Yeah.
And then that's why he's just hanging out in this field wanting to paint more.
I suppose, yeah.
And it's the same field that happened before.
Yeah, and like that, yeah,
and he's been waiting for someone to buy this house that no one wanted because a murder happened there.
Okay.
A mass murder.
Yeah, no, the Friday the 13th sequels, like that you point out, does technically make you right.
I know.
Oh, you're so humble.
I try.
Okay, all right. Still don't like it. But
what would you want it to be?
I'm not saying it's a bad thing. Like, I just think like I don't feel like it should be called a prequel or sequel because, well, yes, they are technically a sequel by the general terms of like using Friday the 13th as an example because it's Camp Crystal Lake and it's Jason. Mm. We have Big Top here and we have the field of Turbines. So yes, they are a sequel, but like the way that the other one was proposed as a prequel, it was like a prequel. I guess it might be on me that I had a preconceived notion that this was going to be a prequel to The Killer. Or like that the previous one was going to be a prequel to The Killer. In this one, who was going to be Ryan. So like, but
he still could be.
He could be, but we don't really get anything in this story about like that hints that he is actually not just a clown. He's also some kid or something like that.
Regardless, though, we know that the clown is either Big Top or Ryan, which are both characters from the prequel.
I guess, yeah.
I think part of your issue, and this is from the original prequel, because I read some of the comments there, was that the author wrote the prequel as a setup for the sequel.
Okay.
Really?
Yeah.
I thought this one was the one that we just read
this one week. No, this is the original.
Yeah.
This is the first one he wrote.
Oh, it's a pre-sequel then.
So then he did a prequel, which is the prequel before this one, but he introduced more characters and whatnot
to set up
the sequel for this one.
Oh God. Okay, so we're still waiting on a sequel to this story.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Which I don't know if is because when did I say that? Like last week this came out. Future Me.
The Clown, the Paint, and the Circus came out June 7th, 2014. This one, however, The Clown, the Paint, and the Turbine came out August 20th, 2013.
So like it's probably been a few years since those got posted. So like yeah, when are we? It's like waiting for the next like sequel to like Halo or something like that.
Excuse me,
or Half-Life, or Duke Nukem.
And that came out
eventually, 10, 15 years later.
But it did.
So anyway, also yeah, we're getting a sequel finally to Half-Life 3. Although it's not going to be called Half-Life 3, it's going to be called Half-Life Alyx, and it's going to be VR only. Thank you, Valve.
It's not a sequel.
No. Anyway, going back on to my last of my actual thoughts. Yeah, so I guess I would call this a sequel in the terms of like slasher movie sequels, in that they the slasher movies take place in the same location and it's the same killer, but it's a different victims.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. All right. I'm done. Mikey, just go. Like, just leave.
Just so defeated.
Just go. All right.
Continue.
All right. So I have a quote here. Your mother will refuse to believe you, boy.
So as soon as you started that, I thought you were going to go, your mother's a hamster.
And your father smelled of elderberries.
Okay. Goddamn footstool.
Yeah.
Yeah, so just commenting that I
Yeah.
went to the Phantasm Ball.
Which is actually kind of adequate because, again, Phantasm, as it's written, is supposed to be very dream logic adventure kind of thing. Like, it's done up in a way, not because the director and filmmaker had like constraints in terms of like the filming and stuff like that, and so that's why it's kind of disjointed and dreamlike. No, it's because his vision was to make it kind of dreamlike, like and nightmarish, and that's why it's called why it's called Phantasm, because it's like the phantasm of dream. Anyway, continue.
All right. Yeah. So that, and then my next one here, I have a quote. I slowly walked across my garden, kicking any toys out of the way. Before this, he'd been in the house the majority of the day.
Yeah.
And then he just suddenly walks outside and there's toys strewn about the garden.
Yeah.
That he hasn't cleaned up.
The garden isn't like a garden.
But
it is I mean, like, it's just kids have I know for a fact if my niece was allowed outside, like with her toys and stuff, that the toys would be all over the backyard. Like, look at the state of this room. For you guys at home, the niece cultist has left all of her toys scattered about.
But is your niece 9 years old?
No, but she's getting there.
Yeah. Well, but I think by 9 years old, they should know to put your toys away.
Depends on how
Depends on how
they're brought up.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
An only child, and their parents aren't always there. So
I think he does what he wants.
I think he does what he wants, honestly.
That's
like,
the whole reason this story happens, because he does what he wants.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. All right. Then my other thought is in regards to the ending. So one of the turbines was red, and the message, "Thank you for helping me paint." It sort of insinuated that the turbine was painted in blood.
Yeah.
Of course it is.
That's a lot of blood for even two people worth of blood. Those things are pretty big.
Well, in rough terms, because I Googled it, the amount of blood per person is roughly a gallon.
Yep.
And if that was paint, you would be able to paint roughly 350 square feet.
How big is the average windmill?
A lot bigger.
Yep.
Are there smaller ones?
Like even like the small, even like if it's like a wind farm, like which is I'm guessing that's what the field is. It's it's a big wind farm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I've driven past a bunch of those like on my yearly trips, like and stuff like that. Those things are huge.
Mm-hmm.
Like I don't think unless they were like
each person might do one of the blades.
Yeah,
maybe most of it, not even all of it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's actually that's a little like stretching it a little.
Yeah.
bit.
So, yeah, that's where it sort of falls apart for it being paint or being blood. So it might have actually been paint.
It might have been, or unless it was like maybe like if it told us like that it was like not near, it wasn't completely covered in paint, like red, like it was like splashes of it, like they were someone was getting started with painting it with the blood, but they ran out. Right?
Did it say it was completely covered?
One of the turbines was red.
Completely red.
That's all it says. It doesn't.
Does it say completely, or
It doesn't say
was
completely.
red?
It just says it was red. But I mean, again, this is
going by the
clarification.
picture.
Yeah,
Yeah. Speaking of the picture, that spoiled it for me.
yeah.
Because obviously someone's going to die and their blood's going to be on that, because I know the information from the prequel.
You know what? I had actually forgotten to I didn't even look at the picture when I read this, but yeah, that is probably a big no-no for this story because it's right there. Like we know someone's going to die by Windmill.
But that's our fault for reading the prequel first.
Yeah, I mean, fair. It's true.
Yeah.
But I mean, that's how you fucking do prequel. Anyways.
Yeah. Yeah, there's more issues, like the fact that blood is a really bad paint.
Yeah.
Because it's more of a stain.
Yeah. But again, like, it's supernatural monster.
Yeah.
He wants to paint with blood because it's gruesome and scary.
Yeah.
So I didn't add a little bit of scary.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
I do.
Yeah. That's pretty much.
I was trying not to interrupt you. I do think Big Top would make a really good slasher villain, or would make a decent slasher monster.
Yeah, and I also don't think blood would stick very well to a metal turbine.
Okay, yeah, fair.
Maybe a bunch of sanding paper. He's like sanding it real down with like really rough
stuff. So maybe he just uses the blood as the coloring for the paint.
Oh,
and he still has like some kind of a paint mixture in there.
So he just buys white paint and then just mixes blood.
Yeah. I mean, that's how they get colors in like at the hardware store.
All red paint is blood.
No. Like, I feel like
everyone knows this. Anyone at home that has a red room, you're going to be freaked out.
Just go on.
Alright, and that was my main thought there, was the end, and not making much sense in regards to actual paint.
Yeah.
And how much blood and whatnot.
How would you make bloody paint stick to...
You'd use a primer paint.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I don't know the texture of the windmills.
It would probably be
turbines.
Pretty matte.
Yeah,
because
it wouldn't be glossy, because that would get chipped away and eventually become just matte again. So they'd probably just stick it with like plain matte. They might even have be galvanized a little bit to like deal with like static or like since it is an it's technically a generator.
Mm-hmm.
I suppose.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So we're all looking at a gamer now because he's.
Okay. So the kid's 2 questions about his old place. These are my thoughts on them when they were asked. 1, why wasn't I ever allowed in my parents' room? Adult reasons.
Yep.
2, who was in the turbine field out back? The answer, a scarecrow. The owner of the field is often set up with a rifle to shoot crows and varmints, so his mom just didn't want him to go out there and get shot.
It's actually not too far off from like the mundane. And I wonder. I speculate. I don't know this for sure. I wonder if our writer here, was it Elliot something? Elliot Cowling. If they are pulling from real life, where like they're either past a really cool, creepy looking field with a bunch of turbines on it, or if they lived near one, and so they decided to make the story out of it.
Mm-hmm.
Because, like, again, pull from real life, like pull from what you know. Because like mundane wise, like you would have like scarecrows and stuff like that, because birds are a constant issue with windmills because they can well, first off, you're going to kill a bunch of birds as they fly into their windmills, but also they gunk up the blades and they slow them down.
Also, because like I'm assuming the field is also. Like, are they just like grass, or are they usually? Aren't they like in farm fields as well?
Sometimes, sometimes the government will pull in property. But however, there are wind farms which are just giant fields that the government has bought, and just stuck a ton of windmills on. But like the ones that we see like on our drives out down south. They are in the corners of farm fields because that's like the government's basically renting space on that farmer's field, and the farmer is getting a stipends. Yeah,
I'm used to seeing that, so I kind of assumed that it was a farm field as well.
But if you notice, when we get even farther, like basically closer to the border, near Detroit area and Windsor area, they actually are like there's actually whole fields areas where they are just there, and those ones are actually like the big farm field, like not farm fields. They're fields that have been purchased by the government.
Yeah, for that one purpose and that one purpose alone.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, moving on to when he meets Big Top / Ryan / whoever.
Yeah, / the clown.
Yeah. Does it matter what my name is? I am here because I want to be here. I live here, child, the clown responded. Then the narrative says, I live here, actually, I said, reassuring him. He lived in his parents' house, not in the field.
Yeah.
It was established that the turbines were owned by his parents, so I imagine they belonged to a different house elsewhere.
Yeah, and I mean, again, I can see like maybe a 5 or 6 year old saying that, like childishly. Kind of to Mikey's point, 9 years old, maybe 9 years old also, like you'd be that kind of like that would be like a dumbly innocent and like a retort. It's like, no, I live here. I live right there. Like. kind of thing. Because that's how I read it. Was like they were basically like they're not meaning that they live in the field, but they live here, like they live here too, basically, kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I guess.
But
yeah,
it's just weird.
Mm-hmm.
Then at the plot twist area, he lunged towards me. The paint pot came towards my head. I screamed and covered my eyes, and then I woke up. This seems like a stupid plot twist, doesn't it? It's not. Please keep reading. So,
and then Gamer C's like, no, click.
No.
yeah.
As soon as I read that, I'm like, plot twist? Why? He was knocked out by the paint can. So the next thing he saw when he woke up was that.
So you caught the zinger. You caught the hint in the story. It's like, no, he wasn't. It wasn't just a dream. He was just knocked out.
That's the way I read it. That he was hit in the head and woke up.
Mm-hmm.
And then it's saying, surprise, he was hit in the head and woke up. I'm like, oh. I already got that. I was ahead of the story a little bit on that, unfortunately.
Bit, yeah. Mm-hmm. You actually were smart in this case. This one case. Aw, come back! It was just a joke. Come on. Come back. I'll give you a cookie.
Cookie?
Yes.
Alright.
Gosh, you're so sensitive.
You keep making fun of me.
Do I get a cookie too?
No. You have to threaten to leave to get a cookie.
He just vanishes. Oh shit, where'd you go?
Yeah. Alright, so the whole ending and everything. My last note is just... It's kind of unfortunate that I caught it before it happened, really. I thought the paint can that knocked it out. I knocked him out of that right away, so the twist ending wasn't really a twist.
Yeah, it's fair. Yeah, again, because I totally didn't. I was like, oh, it's just a dream. Oh, okay. And I actually took it at face value for once.
Mm-hmm. Of course, when you do that, I don't.
It's like we're different fucking opinions, man. Like
it's like we talk about okay, this time I'm going to take it at face value.
We don't at all.
No,
it's just how it works. Like we're just two different sides of the same coin or something like that.
It seems like it, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, that's it.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I don't know why I was looking at Mikey for a second. I was like,
I'm just going to go backwards now.
All right, on to final thoughts. I like the narrative and the plot, despite issues rendered and brought up. I feel as a story, again, I before this is prior to me the whole revelation that it is technically a sequel because it is set up as a sequel to reading the prequel first might have been a bad idea.
Yep.
So, because
you said that too, Mike.
it is not a prequel; it is a pre-sequel because it is setting up characters and stuff for the next story in the chronology. So technically, we should have read this first, then read the prequel. Okay, but it was said prequel, all right. Anyway, so yeah, I feel like calling this maybe you should have called it a pre-sequel. Properly add on to it. But despite that, like the previous one, if you like dreamlike, mundane, yet surreal horror, you may enjoy this. So I'm giving it a partial recommendation. Mostly positive. As I did enjoy the read, I was just a little confused by the chronology because we read it wrong. And we're sorry. I'm sorry. So, Mikey.
I'm also going to give it a partial recommendation.
Mostly negative, though. Sorry.
Well,
no, that should be me.
Yeah.
Because that should be the complete opposite of yours.
Yeah. With reading, if I'd read this first, I wouldn't have known that the paint was blood. And thus, when it came to the end,
It's true.
I wouldn't have this whole, it's painted in blood. It's just painted red.
Yeah.
But also, the backwards of that, if you read this first and then read the prequel, you would have known ahead of time that all the red things were blood before it was said.
Yeah, because that was a talking point when we were discussing that episode, I remember.
Mm-hmm.
Was that everything's red, everything's blood.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. So, Yeah, this one doesn't have that whole red is blood thing that the prequel does, so that's where it, on its own, in my mind, is better, but then the prequel sort of ruins it a bit. And
honestly, yeah, again, if we had read, I hate that I botched this up so bad, because reading this first and then reading that one, we would have actually gotten more insight onto why the clown was obsessed with painting things red. Mm-hmm. Like, because and then we get into his like mania, his obsession in that story about like red and the blood, and then it might make that pale.
Blood in the river of the blood. Sorry. Sorry, go.
The riverbed will run red with the blood of the saints and the blood of the holy.
Yeah, I couldn't think of the words, honestly.
But yeah, no. If we had read this one first and then read the second one, it would. I feel like it might have even made the end, like the end of the clown, even that much more satisfying, because we get the start of his obsession with red in this one with like, oh, thanks for helping me paint, and then in that one it climbs up. We develop even more, and then it comes to a crescendo with the fact that she's able to like basically stop him by just painting all the kids red.
Also, if we did read them opposite, you would know from the get-go that the clown's not going to die, no matter what, because
that's
he's in
true.
the
Yeah,
next
it'd be
one.
like a little zinger. Yeah, but I mean how else? Like, what else are we going to do?
There's no good way to read these
Yeah.
two.
Yeah. Like together, like I that's why like part of my recommendation is like almost like I feel like these should be read as separate stories, but at the same time they are connected. So that's kind of like what my issue was earlier with like the prequel sequel thing was like they both work separately, but there are things in them that kind of make them kind of like it's hard to like to like be satisfied if you read both of them together and like with like in under the precontext that they are sequels to each other or pre-sequels or prequels. Like, yeah. Again, there's no real like easy way to read both of them together. Like there's because of some of the issues that are in the stories. But yeah.
What?
For me, I enjoyed the pre-sequel more personally, just because everything was it was written better. I don't think I had a single grammar in yellow.
No, I don't. No,
All right.
So.
If I did, I didn't have many.
The attorney's like, he did.
Oh, probably. I just don't remember because as of late, I haven't been having too many.
Yeah.
But this one, I had a number of them. So as I was writing them down, I'm like, I don't like that I'm writing so many grammar in yellow.
Well, it does make sense because this story was written first, so the person got better at writing.
Yeah, so I do like seeing that, which makes me wonder how the actual sequel is going to turn out.
Hopefully, there's going to be a sequel.
If it does turn out, it will be even better. If the skill curve of a writer works that way,
Yeah.
or if it plateaus, I don't know. But regardless, even if it's as good as the prequel, it'll be good.
Yeah.
So I'll be happy with that. That being said, this one here, there was a lot of confusing things. Stuff wasn't really explained well enough. Like you called us, you missed the whole paragraph. Like, I mean, you read the paragraph, but you missed the whole point of that question paragraph. Yeah. And why it came up later.
And then you caught the did you notice the I'm talking to Mikey, by the way, audience. Did you notice the the thing that he was bonked on the head and then he woke up? Like, did you think it was just it was a dream? Like, you just follow that, like, kind of just follow along with that plot line, or?
Well, I took it with a grain of salt.
That it was a dream.
That it was a dream.
Okay.
Because I was like, well, it's all up to this point it's a dream.
Because it's sort of like it's sort of the same kind of conundrum of like how that one joke works, where it's like if a plane crashes on the border of Canada and the U.S., where do they bury the survivors? If you're keen-eared enough, you notice they said survivors. They don't bury survivors. But I mean, first time I heard that, I didn't even I didn't catch on to it right away. So, but yeah,
yeah.
Yeah, it's basically that the kind of thing. Like half the audience is going to think, or is going to read it at face value, and half the audience is going to clue in that they were in fact bonked on the head, and they aren't. That wasn't a dream. So it's almost like a double fake out. A quadruple fake out. Fake them and Jaro.
Pretty much. Yeah.
But yeah, so your actual recommendation then?
I was waiting for you to shut up. So, again, like, I don't know if we read it in the correct or incorrect order. As we talked about, we can't really, like, from both ways, reading it this way and the other way, there's still problems that come up just because of the way everything's written. But I didn't like this one as much, so if you like us, read the prequel first, then obviously read this. Yeah. Because it's part of it, but, and to get to the prequel, it's reading them in released order.
Yeah.
I would recommend reading this to get to the prequel, but this on its own, it's okay.
Yeah.
But it's also, he's just a clown, you know?
And here's actually, I'm going to bring this up because I was going to bring it up after you were done. This is my issue with Terrifier, which is a series of horror movies that involve a clown killer. This movie, the prequel that we read, the circuit, the Clown, the Blood, or the Clown, the Paint, and the Circus, was thematic, through and through thematic to the killer's like styling. He was a clown. He had a circus that was all creepy and fucked up, and bam. This one, it's a clown in a field full of wind turbines. Why? Like
prequel. That's why.
Like. There's a lack of theme, a lack of theming, and that's the same issue I have with the Terrifier movies. Is that the killer is cool, but he's just a killer clown. So in that regard, actually, wait, this was written about the time that I think those killer clowns were popping up all over the place. I think 2015 was around the time that killer clowns were showing up.
Well, and that's probably why it was written.
So maybe that was the reason why the original one was written. But again, in real life, that's creepy. But I feel like if you're going to make that into an actual story, you should add a little bit more theming to it than just they're just creepy clowns, like dudes in clown outfits killing people on the roads. That's creepy in real life. That happens in real life. That is scary in real life. In a story, you take that idea, the inspiration from that, and then you go hog wild with it with adding creepy clown motifs and stuff like that. Because otherwise, your clown doesn't have a whole lot of ground to walk around with, because it's just another dude in a costume. It could be any other costume. It could be Pedo Bear, or it could be like 1999. It could just be like Mr. Bear, a giant bear costume, but he's a killer.
You could replace the entire clown getup with anything else,
it
and
could
get
be
the
any
exact same result.
Yeah, it could be any cosplay. It could be any costume. It
could be a costume of Bob Ross.
Exactly.
Yeah, thank you for helping me paint.
Yeah. I'm pretty sure if you go on Amazon or something like that, I'm pretty sure there's a Bob Ross rubber mask.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure that's a thing.
That would be more thematic.
That would be terrifying.
Yes, it would.
Way more terrifying than a fucking clown.
Yeah.
Is a Bob Ross costume. Mm-hmm. But yeah, it's basically just a costumed killer. There's no real theming. That's my issue with when you use a clown, but you don't add any of the circusy clown things otherwise. It ruins it feels kind of lazy, or it feels kind of like you're not reaching the full spooky clown potential.
Yeah. It's like if the Joker just used
guns, but wasn't the
normal
gag guns.
Yeah.
It wasn't always just gag guns, which I'm pretty sure actually the new one, the new Joker movie, also just didn't use any of that stuff.
Well, that's why it sucked. Probably I've never seen it, so I can't say. But regardless, if the Joker just had the Joker get up but didn't do anything Jokery, then
didn't tell jokes when he killed somebody, or didn't make murders out of a joke,
or have bang guns and stupidly long barrels and stuff like that,
or the taser, the buzzer, your hand buzzer that actually electrocutes you.
Yeah, if he didn't have any of that, then he's just a costume killer.
Say what you will, but the cloaker.
Who's the cloaker?
The clown and the Joker.
Interesting.
Say what you will about the Joker, love him or hate him in the comics or in media and stuff like that. The comic book version, he is a serial killer who has a theme that is the Joker, like a clown. He is the clown prince of crime. Mm-hmm. again, like, that's why I feel like if you're going to use a clown, if you're going to use anything, like any kind of costumed character, you have to stick with the theme. Like, it's like superheroes. Like, they have to have a theme. And they have to keep to that theme. Otherwise, they're just a vigilante, a weird vigilante.
Mm-hmm. But to wrap up my thing here, it feels like this story that we read is the second story, and there's a prequel to this that explains why he's a clown, like why he adopted the clown persona, then he did this murder, and then he moved on and got into the circus business. Like, there would be an escalating scale of things, but now the scale is kind of like roller coastering.
Yeah. I still think that this one should be the sequel to the previous one, or to the.
I mean, it works like that, but I'm saying, like, just the level of clownness is going up and down a lot.
Yeah. Or unless that's hinting that this is Ryan, in fact, and he doesn't have like the full like setup of gear of like killing implement or like supernatural like getting a circus together kind of know-how that Big Top had.
If he's possessed him, he has. Or if it's just his own insanity.
Well, that's the other thing. Like, we're assuming that like Big Top possessed Ryan, when really it could have just been that like the evil of Big Top went into Ryan, and so now he's just evil.
Yeah.
Now he's evil clown man. Mm-hmm. But like Big Top had like all the know-how of like how to get a circus up together, how to bribe people into like working for him and stuff like that.
Yeah, and Ryan has to learn all that again.
Yeah. So that could be where like that insanity is. But again, we're still not kind of left in the dark as to whether this is Ryan or Big Top or both.
Mm-hmm. And this left a good section to tell us which it is.
Yeah.
But as we talked about before, even if you said Big Top, it still could be Ryan.
Yeah.
Because of insanity and such.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But,
that's enough yakking about it.
Yeah. So what was your recommendation?
I don't remember. It's like, it's okay.
It was basically I think it was a partial recommendation across the board.
It's just mid-range.
Yeah.
Mainly to get you to the pre-sequel, because the pre-sequel's better.
Yeah, like and it worked. It makes sense because this story was written first, and the writer got better. Mm-hmm. Because I think we all enjoyed the first, like the pre-sequel.
Yeah. Whereas
this one, like, I enjoyed it, but there are issues with it, and I don't necessarily agree that it was the same.
We consistently like this author's writing, whether we all kind of like it or all like it.
Yeah. Well, basically. They have other stories in other
series. Even though I believe Mikey said that he wouldn't recommend it.
I think he said he would recommend it. He said partial recommendation.
Did you?
Partial.
Okay, never mind.
But yeah, so this writer does have a few other story series, like not just like the clown stuff, but like in other series, like separate series. Mm-hmm. So we may have to touch on those later.
Yeah, I wonder if the sequel didn't happen just because like the clown craze died out.
Maybe. Might be worth investigating a little bit, diving a little bit deeper into. But that is this week's episode. If you like what you heard, or if you didn't, leave a comment in the comment section below where this gets posted, whether it be on Podbean, Facebook, YouTube, or Tumblr. We're on Twitter. Mikey's at the E stands for evil. Gamer in Yellow is at the Gamer in Yellow without that W because his name's long. And I'm at Review Cultist, so you can send us messages there. You can also get a hold of us on email at aldenterigamortis@gmail.com. That's aldenterigamortis@gmail.com. Yes, I know there's a typo in our logo, in our brand, but sue me. Don't sue me.
It was on purpose.
Yes,
because it's
clearly.
in regards to creepypasta, which are
that's it.
Which are often
nailed it.
Yeah, which
anyway,
are often spelt wrong.
Yeah, so you can send us emails there, and send us suggestions for other creepypastas you'd like us to discuss on the show, SCPs, Reddit No Sleep stuff, Fear Fix, all those good juicy horror stories that pop up on the internet. Let us know what's your favorite, and if we haven't done it yet and want us to do it, that would be awesome. It will go on the queue. Also, if you'd like to help support the show financially, you can go to Patreon, look up Dente Rigamortis, and select the backer tier you'd like to support us at. We have $2 and $5 tier with special episodes, early access, extra content, all those good things. To our patrons that are already helping support the show, thank you guys immensely. You're helping keep those hosting bills at bay. All as always, we very much appreciate that. To our listeners and the authors of these stories, thank you guys immensely, because without you, we wouldn't have much of a show, whether in your listenership or with your stories. Like, we'd be just a bunch of chucklefucks talking nothing.
I mean, we basically are anyways.
Yeah, but I mean, now we have a focus.
Yeah.
And if you'd like to buy some of our merch, you can go to Redbubble and check out our logo on, a clock, shower curtain, a t-shirt, pins, stickers, stuff like that. It would all funds go toward helping the show, so thank you in advance if you decide to do such a thing. That has been this week's episode. I've been your host, Review Cultist.
I'm Mikey. The E stands for evil.
And I'm the gamer in yellow.
This has been Al Dente Rigamortis. Sleep well. The clown then... Thank you, Censored Ed.